Hello, beautiful starseeds. Welcome to Starseed Energetics. My name is Ashtar, missioned to bring you some of the highest frequency content. And today I have a very special video sponsored by the Patreons of Starseed Energetics. I've honestly started this community a few years ago, and it's been one of the great blessings of my life to have this close-knit community. So if you're not a part of this community, and you love my work, please check that platform out. I put so much of my heart and soul and guidance and streams of consciousness, energy, transmissions in there that is invaluable. And that's why this community is so strong and beautiful. So I would love to see it prosper and grow. So please check it out. And I just recently had a restructuring of the different tiers, and I put out a poll, and the request that I got the most was for me to host a Q&A. And they kindly allowed me to post these Q&A on YouTube a couple weeks later after I published it there first. And the reason why I thought it would be super valuable to do that is because when I've ran these Q&As in the past, it was usually in a very close-knit kind of mastermind or one-on-one client kind of dynamic, and it ends up becoming so valuable. It's a very powerful transmission and activation because when I'm answering the questions, I'm tapping into higher aspects of consciousness, multiple different aspects of consciousness. So this is an energetic session in itself, while it helps you process it on the linear level as well. So if you would like to submit any of your questions, it could be personal all the way down to something super metaphysical, you can join my Patreon. Anything above the 6G tier is where you can submit the question. So I'm gonna go into the Q&A. Please enjoy. And again, thank you so much to my Patreons for sponsoring this content. Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to this Q&A. I'm really excited to get into it. Got a bunch of lengthy questions. Thank you so much for your submission. And don't forget, if you're watching this and you want to submit your question for next month, please comment below in the Patreon video your question, and I will compile them for next month. So, first question. What is your perspective on the incarnation process for starseeds, particularly in relation to past lives? I had a dream of being in another planet with a body completely alien to this one. It was during a war where some huge object flying into the airspace, and I got badly wounded on the ground and stuck under something with perhaps a loved one there with me. I just don't know how to fit this information into a timeline from this human perspective. And perhaps this subject cannot be approached from a linear perspective as I try to. Can you please offer what you can on this topic? So when I read this question, the feeling that I get is that you're asking me something, but there's something energetically inherent within the question itself that wants to be addressed. And that part of yourself just wants comfort. So first of all, before I even get to the question, I just want to let you know that you're okay. It's okay to have this kind of traumatic memory that you can't even remember why it's there, or it just must be something that's there to be resolved. If you're asking me why it's showing up on your human memory, or why it's relevant for you right now to even fathom this, it's because it has an emotional anchor in your soul line that needs to be transmuted from the most dense polaric perspective of the human level. So if you have something that is pressing in cycles, and it's just so impactful that it can't leave, or it can't just be dissolved, the most effective way for your soul to process it is to send it to a human level. Because once the human level can forgive that experience and neutralize that experience with awareness and acceptance, then it gets resolved on all other dimensions. So that human level is the most powerful transfiguring template. It is just a machine for alchemy because of the polarity that we have to process. So when you send it to this polaric level, it's just medicine for your soul. That's why you're getting the flashes now, or, the question that you're asking me is, what is my perspective on the incarnation process? And what I'm about to tell you, your belief system will shape your incarnation process. So if you literally humanly believe that you have all these parallel lives, future lives, past lives, and you have a specific incarnation process, you'll actually be right on that physics of reality. I know it's crazy. Like, I mean, this is what I say about death as well. What is really death? What happens after death? How does it work? And all of these things. Yes, a lot of people can say a lot of things about what you go through this tunnel when you die, and this happens. There's this playground that you just rest before you reincarnate, or this and that and this. But from my truth, you actually get to decide what it is contextually. And of course, there's a limit to how much you can imagine. There's a time limit to how much that paradigm will repeat itself until it returns to the ultimate truth. But the real truth, if you want to know, is you decide. You get to decide. There's an infinite universe, there's infinite probabilities of how things work, and you get to decide where you reside. There's only one principle that is truly, truly true, that cannot be altered, and that is something that is totally transcendent of your capacity to process. So when it comes to something processable like incarnation, you get to decide how it works. Even with death, after you die, you know, it really, like, if you're unattached to how it shows up, if you're pure in your alignment, what will essentially happen is the true nature of death. I mean, for me, when I have near-death experiences, I either return right back into source, or like a realm of pure geometry, which is, you could even say that's like an 11th dimension. There was no astral nothing. So it's, you know, but this belief system has to come from deep, deep, deep within your core, without your mind getting in the way of like what you think you believe. You might think you believe something, but deep inside you may believe something completely different. So keep that in mind. But essentially, I think things like incarnation, yeah, you can put an algorithm to how it works, but at the end of the day, it's very fluid. It is fluid. And sometimes it's beneficial for you to believe it works in a certain way, and that serves a purpose for the time being, but I wouldn't give too much thought to it. But I think, again, the whole point of this question is not that you really want to understand the whole incarnation process, but you want some comfort for having these flashes where you're processing this trauma that you cannot, like, is bothering you, right? So what I would do is I would really tune into what emotion or what experience am I currently experiencing that is a parallel to this current experience. Most likely, when you're asking me this question and there is this trauma of this accident, there's something going on in your life right now that is reminding you of that feeling, right? So I would take a look at that and use that as an anchor to transmute this experience, or transmute the trauma, or integrating it by processing it and accepting it, observing it with neutral awareness, which just means like you realize that this is a subjective experience, and you go into this pure state of awareness, which is the blank slate that observes the experience. As soon as you notice that you're having any experience at all, you're returning to that void state of infinity. So once you can process that experience and link it back to this pure awareness, that's how you transmute the experience. There's so many little bugs that are being attracted to this light. So I hope it's not gonna bother anyone. I mean, because I'm in Bali right now. Again, I returned here, and the bugs, you know, they're just part of this life. Okay, so let me tell you one more thing that might be relevant for you to process. So when you're going through an experience and you have a parallel experience to process ancestral wounds, or like this deep groove of your soul's incarnation experiences, like when you say you had this accident, most likely there's something parallel again in your life that is mirroring those emotions, right? And how sometimes the best thing to do is to consciously lead yourself through that experience that you're currently moving through with wide open awareness, and make decisions and choices that physically, viscerally signals to yourself that this exact process can be gentle, this exact process can be graceful. So when you have that conscious mindset of like, okay, this is a traumatic experience that I'm having, but I'm going to give myself the benefit of experiencing this journey all the way through and show my energetic matrix that this experience can be gracefully navigated. So I hope this helps. Okay, the next question. I'm flying back home and I'm already dreading the drama. I've been quite good at setting boundaries with people who hold on to previous versions of me, but I haven't been able to do this with my parents, and I'm not ready to distance myself any more than I already am. Like literally 2,000 kilometers away, and as little contact as possible without them freaking out. Any tips? Thank you so much. Okay, so I can definitely relate to your situation because I'm one of those people who is very distant from my own family. And not in an energetic way. We're all on good terms. We're all in love, and we're all have forgiven each other for all. But I've gotten to a point where my own family, and maybe they're even watching this video, they know my YouTube channel. So if you're watching this, hello, love you. But just to be helpful to this questioner, they have come to a point where they just respect they're just grateful that I'm just fine, and I believe that when it's time, we're going to physically reconnect. But I think one of the things that happened is the pandemic really normalized this distance. And I'm literally 24 hours of a flight away from, most of my family members. But, I have evolved exponentially since I was in proximity with my own family, and this is a temporary phase, I believe, and this is literally what I said, that I'm sorry, but this is temporary until I get to a certain level where my own being is so solidified that it cannot be compromised by someone in proximity to me, because I'm still in this evolutionary phase that is so drastically shifting all the time. And there will be a point where I've stabilized in this new octave so much that no matter what people, what kind of energy is around me, it's not going to affect me. But for me to get to this point of drastic shifts and evolutions and accomplishments that I'm currently have achieved and will accomplish in the next couple of years, I felt that it was extremely crucial for me to have that space, because it's not just about holding a version of me, it's that they've never made these quantum leaps in their own lives, so it's hard for them to believe and support all of the things that I've already done and that I will be doing in the next couple of years. If I had told them, or if they were around me while I was making these leaps in the last couple of years, I think all of them would have had a disbelief or this doubt around my goals and what I'm doing. And even if they never tell me that, it's an energy that I can feel. It's an invisible reactionary field of there's a certain energy that I'm creating. It makes them uncomfortable. And for me, what I think that the first thing that I would think, internal energy shows outwards. Everyone reacts to the internal state that you're holding. I believe that the reason why they would be freaking out at all is because you're freaking out inside. Like you're literally freaking out inside because you are filled with guilt and shame about not having that proximity. Like for me personally, do you know why I think that they just have come to accept and love me still and respect the time and space that I'm taking at the moment for a few years? Is because internally I have no tinge of a doubt. I'm not doing something wrong. I love them, but I can be of more service to them in a few years after I've solidified the complex being that I'm becoming. Then I can provide much more loving relationship and support. Right now is just not the right time when I'm, you know what I mean? right now is just not the right time when all these changes are occurring. They're just different priorities that need to settle into place. And I just need that energetic boundary. And I know that this is of the highest good for everyone. And I know that I can support them with energy by being the best version of myself. I'm being of highest service to them because they're quantumly connected to my genetics. If I'm being the best version of myself, if I am fulfilled, happy, balanced, and really in the fullest mode of my life, that transfers to the family line. Something shifts inside of them. Even if they're so far away, they will change because we are connected by blood. We're connected in genes, quantum entanglement. So especially when it comes to your direct parents, they shift. And my parents have shifted so much. And I believe that has a lot to do with my shifts. So in me, just really objectively speaking, if I'm just like burdened by socially constructed guilt, like I have to be in their proximity, be there for them all the time and this and that, well, and then I'm compromised of my vision and what I need to accomplish in the next couple of years, and I'm feeling unaligned and compromised and miserable. That's not me being of service. So what I would say to you is resolve the guilt and shame within you. Stop thinking that, oh, I'm being a bad spiritual person because I'm not mending all the relationships in my life, or maybe, this is just too much for this video, but sometimes there just needs to be the right amount of space for you to heal that entire genetic lineage and all the patterns. And you're doing a lot of work energetically, and you're becoming something that you really need to protect. Okay, there's a perfect analogy that I read somewhere. It's like you plant a seed, and for the first few stages of the growth of the new plant, you have to protect it from wind and from like all these different environmental factors. And when the plant becomes more mature, then you can expose it to the world and other energies. But it's like, for me, for the past few years, I've been that plant that was sprouting from seed. Of course, my age isn't like I was a baby, but in terms of my spiritual maturation, I needed to protect that ascension. And especially when the family is not on that, like, look at me, look at you, look at all of you watching this content. Y'all just not normal. You're not normal humans. You need to protect your ascension if the environment is not supportive of that level. And they're not trying to be supportive. It's just so outside of their paradigm. How can they support something they can't possibly fathom? So you need to clear the guilt, and then they will stop freaking out. That will just shift. They will just shift. And even with the holiday thing, I would question, like, are you letting that cultural thing, just socially constructed cultural holiday thing, really stop you from being a sovereign person of your own belief systems? Like, I mean, with the holidays and stuff like that, and birthdays, for me personally, I'm like, the best way for me to spend these days is like communing with source. Like, I really... So I would, one step at a time, baby steps. If you still really need to go home, go for it. But I would even question, when you feel more sovereign and confident in your own beliefs, and when you feel sovereign to be, to yourself, you should be like, okay, you know what, family, dear family, I love you so much, but this whole holiday thing, I don't believe it's actually anything but just another day. Every day is sacred. Every day is a holiday. I don't know. Every day is a holy. Every day is a holy day. So, that's just, I understand if that's not as far as when you want to take it, but that would be as far as how I would personally be like, sorry. But at the end of the day, my family all still love me. We really love each other. They accept and love me because I'm being authentic, I'm being truthful, and I'm being loving. And none of this is coming from an ill-intentioned space. Energy is what matters. I mean, of course, your words and actions matter, but energy matters in the top priority, and then comes the words and actions. So if you perform some action, but the energy is really high frequency, the action is subject to the energy. Hope this helps. Okay, next question. My question is, how do I let go and forget information that feels disturbing if the subconscious mind remembers everything? So so letting go and forgetting information that feels disturbing, you need to just take out the charge from the disturbance. So let me explain this. This lady has been in purity mastermind, so you know the state of purity. What actually you have to do is you have to observe the level of yourself that is freaking disturbed, and neutralize that self. And just by being like, oh, I accept this, but this is not the totality of who you are. You just simply observe that as a simple data set of how your avatar is showing up for that moment. But to go deeper into this, let me go target this from multiple angles. When it comes to your subconscious field, you can literally do this as an energetic process of envisioning. I don't know if you're a visualizer or how you perceive energy, but feeling the energy there, whatever that information is. If you're a visualizer, visualize it as a packet of frequencies, that information, and literally this is communicating to your subconscious mind, and blaze it with violet flame until the information packet just kind of dissolves into like glorious opalescent light. That's a way to communicate with your subconscious mind. But another thing you can do is, as your energetic field, right? You have an Akashic record keeper. You also know this because this is part of the purity mastermind. So I'm going to just let that language out. You have an Akashic record keeper. You can communicate with your Akashic record keeper and notify them that you as a personal field is ready to let go of this packet of information, and for them to just take it back into the Akashic library. That you as a personal field no longer needs to carry the information because you've already integrated the lesson from that packet of information, and then you can let it go. And let me just say, the subconscious mind doesn't like remember everything, but it just kind of records everything. So it's not like your subconscious mind has a whole bank of everything that the entire human collective has, So, I mean, this subconscious field is just very interesting, right? But you can make it like discharge the relevance of that information to your field. And whenever this field of information is present in your mind or your physical body or your emotions, like when you feel that this disturbance of this piece of information, just tune back into your neutral awareness, and that actually takes the energetic flow from you were fine and then you remember something that disturbs you, and then you go through that piece of information and you redirect it to pure neutral awareness. That process transmute the entire information. So I hope all of these angles help. Okay, next question. What is the purpose of feeling the emotions of people around me and the collectives? Do I have to consciously do anything with it? I would think that what is the purpose of feeling the emotions of people around you is that you are just more in touch with the nature of reality. Energy bleeds. It really bleeds. It's like if you have a cup of water and you put something inside, it bleeds. So that's the nature of reality. It's not even just people's emotions, but if you're sensitive to subtle energy, you can literally feel like an object. Like if you have an object in your hand, you can feel the frequency of the object, not just the surface texture, but like, for example, if I hold this versus if I hold like a deck of oracle cards, the deck of oracle cards are so much more high frequency without even knowing like what it is. Like even if it weighed the same and felt the same, the frequency of the object or the emotion, that's just the nature of reality. It just means that you're more prone to the truth. So that's a gift. So what you have to do anything with it is just like, it's a very general question, but utilize, if you're thinking like if other people's emotions really bother you, utilize that as a way to learn how to discern what to say yes to and what to say no to, which decision to make. But also, if a specific person's emotion really triggers you, because you can feel an emotion, but you don't have to be triggered by it, right? But it sounds like you're triggered by the fact that you can feel everyone's emotions. You can identify that which pocket of emotional spectrum holds a lot of weight on your field, or maybe is stuck in some piece of your field or your energy body. So say, for example, when someone is really, really sad, you can simply just like hold the space and just be like, okay, this person is sad, and I'm going to discern, like, in this situation, I'm going to take that into consideration, do this and that, this. The purpose might be that you can transmute it. You know, you're like a live transmuter when you are simply aware that it is another person's emotion. Like, literally, you're doing the universe a favor, because when you become aware that somebody has these kinds of emotions, by simply observing that fact, you're actually neutralizing that emotion and transmuting it on the behalf into a higher alchemy. But aside from that, just on a conscious linear level, if somebody is sad and it really triggers you, and not just that you can be aware of it, but it triggers you on top of being aware of it, it's a chance for you to clear that in your own field. Like, because if you don't have a specific trigger towards that specific bandwidth of emotion that is universal, like all these spectrums of emotions, it strikes a specific chord in your system. It means whatever that emotion, right? You want to trace it back to the point in which in your memory bank did it accumulate in your field or get stuck in your field. Because if it's not stuck, it won't bother you. So try to understand, does that emotion bother you? And if it bothers you, you want to clear it by being conscious of it and perhaps neutralizing the point in which you accumulated a lot of trigger for it. Maybe if somebody's angry, the reason why it triggers you is because like it reminds you of when you were little and like your parents were yelling at you or something. You want to go back and neutralize that experience for that timeline that you had. And then eventually when somebody's angry, you won't be triggered, but you'll just neutrally observe it and hence transmute it or alchemize it. Or help you make discern decisions. Like, you know, it's just does multiple things. So when you're asking me what is the purpose of feeling emotions, like, well, what is the purpose of the color green? There's not really a purpose. There's just multiple things it can do. It can bring like healing vibrations to the Anahata chakra, or, you know, it can help facilitate photosynthesis for plants or whatever. There's multiple things that the color green can do. There's multiple things that feeling emotions can do. But I hope that what I said helps. Okay, in the past month, I feel like I'm on the edge of opening to a new set of, or deepening the metaphysical gifts that already exist within me. Can you shed some light on what this is? And what do I need to be aware of so I can harness these to the fullest effect? It feels like this is something personal that you're asking me. Like, if I can tune into what gifts are you opening up to? Let me tune in. Okay, your metaphysical gift is clairgnosis that you're opening up to. And it's just simply the fact of knowing, and the way that you can harness this is to make quicker decisions, to make a speedier decisions on a conscious level. You know what, the clairgnosis, a lot of people can have it and then they have a hard time trusting it. So on a linear level, you can literally know you're going to do something or something is going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And then even though they have that psychic gift, they can't accept it from a physical level. And then it makes them procrastinate. It makes them indecisive. It makes them confused about a lot of things. It makes them brain fog. So the way that you can actually honor this and harness this is by trusting it, embodying it, and acknowledge it from a physical, rational level, integrating this with your conscious mind. So take your clairgnosis and weave it into your conscious linear mind. And so that would mean that when you know something, you act on it, or there's no like resistance or some kind of disbelief or doubt around it. You just vibrate in that knowingness at all times. And this just looks like being a present being that is decisive. Hope that helps. It's a quick question, but hopefully it's enough. Next question. I'm currently in recovery from a traumatic brain injury and have severe PTSD because I was mistreated and neglected in hospitals here in Germany. I am a woman BIPOC. It was clearly racism, but also because I was a foreigner. I have seizures that feel very much like they're connected to something not of this life. My veil is thin with my past lives, and my PTSD seizures feel connected to a previous life where I was in Eastern Europe during World War II, sent to a death work camp because I was an ethnic minority. In the hospital, it felt so extreme, like I was captive of being abused, and in ways I was. All this trauma is surfacing into these seizures. Do you have some recommendations on how we manage past life influences, and what is so strong, especially for people that are reliving the same scenarios? I'm an indigenous person. Having this type of violence inflicted on who you are is so normal. How do we break free of this? It feels bigger than me, generational, ancestral, and past life. So very, very sorry to hear about this experience. And thank you so much for trusting me to answer this question and trusting to open up. So interestingly, the first question that I answered in the very beginning, I hope that answers your question about the ancestral work and the generational and all the past lives. So for me to quickly summarize, when you are given this huge ancestral generational lineage burden onto you, and I've had experience with this, and I can tell you, your role as a conscious individual is to process that, I understand what it feels like when you're going through something, and this is definitely not your own karmic line. This is just freaking ancestral. I know how that feels. It feels insane. But when you process it, and you know that you're a conscious creator of your experience, and you've been given this to transmute because you are capable of it, even though the last thing you want to hear is that, when I was going through something like that, I was like, do not tell me I'm strong enough. Like, I'm tired of people saying like, oh, you're so strong. Like, shut the. No, I don't need to be strong. This is a stupid freaking thing to say, like, oh, you're strong, you can handle it. No, I'm not signaling to the universe like you can just throw whatever because I'm strong. No, I'm not gonna buy into that freaking paradigm. But what you can do is process it and know that the purpose of this current experience is so that you can direct the experience as best as you can, having your tool sets to direct it in a graceful trajectory. So I know this is hard, but I would really sit and think, if I don't know how the hospitals work in Germany or how the racism works. I'm really sorry that I don't know. So I can't give a clear perspective into this. Obviously I'm a woman of color, and I've experienced racism in, like, when I moved to North America, in subtle ways. It's a whole different spectrum when you're talking about this country that I don't know how racist they are. It's a whole different spectrum with what you're saying. It's not just like about going to school and this and that. This is really serious. But if you feel like it's the location that you're at, then perhaps can you try to move your location where it's not going to be that difficult for you? Maybe can you change a hospital to more holistic place? But before you take these moves, you have to first believe that you can be treated with respect. And this is a belief system that you have to wire into yourself before you see the external results. Like, you can literally go anywhere, but if you have this belief that people are not going to be fair to you, if you have this fear that people are not going to be fair to you, that you're going to be abused, then you're going to create that scenario. I know you don't want to hear this from me, but you have the power to reconstruct your belief systems that this can be easy, this can be graceful, I can navigate this in a graceful way. When you navigate this situation with total awareness, with total inner stillness, and I know it's hard when you're actually going through something. The last thing you want to do is observe. Like, that's just available to a certain level of nervous system state where you're more calm. But if you're having trouble with that, just try to nurture yourself the best you can. prioritize your well-being, prioritize your peace, and try to get yourself to a place, setting, time, space, continuum where you can have more graceful integrations of this experience. But again, at the same time, you'll have to do some belief system work to, self-worth or respect from others or fear of being rejected, all of those things. Let me say this. There's a lot of hypnosis sessions on YouTube or subliminals or actual hypnosis sessions. There's hypnosis sessions from very high-level clinical hypnotherapists, even on YouTube, that you can search and go through these hypnotic sessions, because this belief system is not just consciously coming from you, but literally it's coming from generations. So a good way to work through this is to hypnotize yourself through the next belief system. And let me tell you this, people might get scared that, maybe that's who knows what's going to happen during the hypnotic suggestions or whatever. But you know what? These people who put that kind of material out there, if you look at their credentials and if you just can vibe out what they would put you through, and you can literally listen to it while you're hypnotized, and you can reject anything that you don't want to accept. But honestly, this entire matrix is full of subliminal hypnotizing. You think the powers that be is not hypnotizing everyone on the subliminal level with everything, so these hypnotizing content, it's the other end of the spectrum. It's for self-improvement. So I would suggest all of that. Okay, I hope this helps. Sending lots of love and support, and please comment below if this helped, or if you have further questions, please let me know. I want to support you through this experience. Okay, next question. Dear Shara, thank you for your work. My question is around various energetic states. My perception of reality changes drastically hour to hour. There is a huge fluctuation in mental emotional states. I am mostly aware of the shift, and I notice that they affect strongly how I respond to the world. 1 minute I feel empowered and attract solutions, while the second minute I'm vibrating desperation. Is there a way to balance this vulnerability? I'm having quite a healthy routine: yoga, awareness practice, sleep, etc. Okay, so let me tell you this. So the mental emotional swings, it's just amazing, because it means that you've truly tapped into a level of quantum shift that you were not tapping into before. So what happens with linear progression is that you change, and you change linearly, and the progression is familiar, so that the swings are not there. It's like gradually changing over the course of 5-10 years. But what you're describing is like a huge swing between your states of oh my God, I feel amazing, I'm powerful, I'm this, I'm abundant, I'm beautiful, I'm healthy, da, 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 da. And then the other swing is terrible. It means that the terrible swing was your normal state before. Do you understand? This was your default state before, but that's why it's there to echo. But then the new state is you've really anchored in, locked in that quantum shift that feels so different from before. That's why there's this swing. So good job. The next thing that you have to do is you have to understand that it's fine. You can't force the negative swing out of there, because it was already from the past. But what you can do is just simply understand that it's an echo, and don't be too harsh about it. Just drop your emotional charge that's there. Just be accepting, here it is, here it goes again. What will happen is that it's not that the other state will go away, but it's that the swing, the duration that it takes to go from one state to the other will become less and less until it's totally neutralized. But obviously you'll get to a next level later. So you'll experience this again, but it's not going to be as dense as last time. But the funny thing is, the more you evolve, the more dense the past feels. So even if you refine your frequency, and then you get to the next level, and then you tap into the next level, and then it swings back to what is now your higher frequency, in the future, your higher frequency is going to feel like this, whoa, that is so dense. Why is it happening again? That's the evolution. So what you'll notice is that you'll just stop being upset when the density occurs again. When the lower frequency happens again, you'll just be like, oh, okay. And then again, the duration maybe it took like 10 days to go from this state to this state to like bounce back again. You said like day to day. Okay, one day I'm like this, the next day I'm like this, and then eventually it'll become like 10 hours. It'll then become like 6 hours. Then it'll become like 3 hours. Then it'll become like 20 minutes. Then it'll become like 1 minute. And then the next thing you know, you're at the next level. But then when you're at the next level, you get a hold of the next octave. And then it'll just be like this. And then you'll be like, oh my gosh, why do I feel so dense? But you won't stop reacting like that anymore to the previous state. Do you understand? I hope this helps. Okay. Next question. I have been dealing with nightmares and insomnia for 1.5 years. The sleep or lack thereof is causing significant health issues. I've tried 3 different types of therapy, natural herbs, new sleep routines, journaling, meditation, pharmaceuticals, and it's still a significant issue. Okay, sorry about that.
Hey, I just realized while editing this video that in my answer, I didn't even address the nightmares part. I literally just addressed the insomnia part because I was really excited about answering about insomnia because I think it's something that everyone can benefit from if they have it. But for the nightmares part, I would, first of all, the core root of this is your fear of the unknown and your fear of death. If you're fearing states of sleep, which is manifesting as nightmares, deep inside you have a fear of death and fear of the unknown. So I would really dig into that deepest fear of death and work with your inner states and work with your guides and the universe to support you in healing your relationship with death, and the synchronicities will unfold for you and you'll have a healing journey about death. I would say on top of that, to help, when it comes to nightmares, it's an astral attachment, right? So once you've done the internal work, I would get an entity clearing. Anyone with black magic clearing or entity clearing, if you can get a healer to clean that for you, there's tons of healers out there that could clean entities, energies, thought forms, astral planes, such powerful healers. So I would recommend getting that as well.
Okay, I'm going to answer this in multiple different dimensions. The first answer that I will give you, and I was telling that maybe you're not going to like this answer, but hear me out. When you're, and I know this because I have experience, when I was in college, there was times that, because I went to a very, very intense school. It was like very difficult program. And there would be times where I'm super wired on coffee, and it would be like exams, final exams, and those days were crazy. I would get like 2 hours of sleep. I would have literally 1 hour of sleep because I'm studying literally all day at the library from 6 in the morning until 4 in the morning. I would have like 2 hours to sleep. And at that time, it's like, how do I sleep? I'm so wired. I'm drinking coffee, pounding coffee all day. But then if I don't get that 2 hours of sleep, I'll fail the exam because I will be messed up. I need at least like a little bit of sleep, even 1 hour. So what I would do is like, I would lay on my bed and I have to sleep or my whole life is on the line. At the time, it feels like my whole life is on the line because, that's how college is. Like, if you don't do well, you're wasting all the money and your future, you know how it is. So at those times, it's like, I have to sleep. Everything is on the line, and then I'll fall asleep. So just imagine if when you're going to bed, you're like, your whole life is on the line. You have to sleep. There's a part of yourself that doesn't want to sleep. There's a part of your mind that's like, oh, I want to just keep running around and just think about this and that. And it's like, just doesn't want to shut off. So you have to be in entire agreement with every level of your being, like it is sleep or die. And then you'll sleep. You'll find a way to go to sleep. I'm sorry, this is a hard answer, but let me go into the more gentle answer. Because you know what? At the end of the day, sleep is so necessary. It's just the most important thing in one's life. Sleep is one of the most important and productive things that you can possibly do. Next, for biohacking, I would suggest trying either or both cryotherapy, which is like when you go into an ice tank, and then also there's hydrogen oxygen chambers. Those things are just the hydrogen oxygen chambers. I'm more new to this technology than the other one. Like the cryo chambers I've been doing for a long time, but the hydrogen oxygen chambers, you literally go into a pressurized chamber where they pump out fresh oxygen. And literally what happens is like your actual body, even if you're breathing all the time, it has its priorities to deliver the oxygen to. So the lesser priority organs don't get the oxygen. When you go into a pressurized hydrogen chamber, it's pressurized, there's oxygen is pumping, every single part of your body gets the oxygen. So it's incredible. So I would say try these biohacking things. Other than that, doing yin yoga at least 30 minutes to 1 hour before sleep. You can search yin yoga on YouTube. It literally puts you in a parasympathetic nervous system. You can do breath work, like if you lengthen the exhale 2 times more, double the inhale, like say 3 counts in, 6 counts out. That puts you in a parasympathetic system. Any forward bends, forward folds, or like a child's pose, it will put you in a parasympathetic system. Try yoga nidra. These are all things that you can do to assist your sleeping practice. And last but not least, as for supplements, you can try like any of the medicinal mushrooms, not like psychedelics. I mean, like lion's mane, cordyceps, all that kind of mushrooms is good. Obviously, the last thing I would suggest is like, I used to go to these meditation retreats all the time, like once a month, honestly. And at that moment, I noticed that like in those retreats that I used to go to, they turn out the lights by like 7. When there's a sun goes down, the lighting is so dim everywhere, like in the houses, in the cabins, and in the like everywhere. It's like the lighting is dim. And then when I returned to real life, back and forth, I realized like, wow, it's crazy that we just blast on full light all day and all night because your brain will get this signal like it's day. So try always dimming your light, having minimal light. Get a colored lamp. I love colored lights because it's a different spectrum than these like white, yellow lights. If you get a colored light and put the colors to like red or like pink, I love putting that so that you can still walk around the house, but the lighting all is like red or pink. It's actually a lower frequency of light, and then your body will like naturally produce melatonin in the evening and stuff. So try to shut off all the bright lights and just put on the colored lights. You can get Philips colored hue lights. Like there's little bulbs like this small, and you can take it everywhere. So those are some of the things you can try. I hope this helps. Next, what has helped you experience the most in living from nothingness, unborn, fierce yet soft potential God? I don't know, this sounds like a poem more than a question. Thanks for the poem. I don't know, what has helped your experience the most in living from nothingness? Here's my answer to this. It's not about like living in having this. I think the questioner is talking about the state of purity or enlightenment, Atmanam, that I talk about. And what I will have to say is that for me, it's not a matter of what can that help me with. It's not a matter of what can I get out of this. The reason why I prioritize it the most and think it's the most important thing in my whole life to have a spectrum of enlightenment active at all times is because life is not worth living for a single moment without it. I think that life without having an awake consciousness is disgusting, and nobody should be living like that, which most people are. And I am so passionate about this because I think that enlightenment has been something, this nothingness, this godliness, at the end of the day, what I can call it like Atmanam, enlightenment, is butchered into thinking, everyone thinking that it's like something guilty to desire. It's like no one can get it. It's only like enlightened sages who can get it. Well, then why the F are we infinite beings with infinite possibilities then? What do you mean? What else could you possibly want more than that? I mean, everything else comes second to that state of consciousness. And my experience has been, for the years that I've lived without it, that I was socially conditioned to live in a certain, I mean, I totally had it, obviously. Everyone had it when they're a baby and a young child before distortion. But from my years of living in distortion and seeing the suffering and pain that it brought, life is not worth living without that consciousness. So it's not about what does it help. It's about, that's the only way to live. Okay, next question is, hello, I'm part of the Purity group. Hello, Purity. I didn't ask this question during the Q&A because it hadn't fully formed yet. I've been on this journey of purifying and clearing my entire being of everything that must go for quite a while now. I've reached this point where I'm quite clear. Many people have been cleared from my life. I've let go of many dreams and I had been forcing, and now I feel quite empty. Not in a bad way. I'm quite content with myself, but I feel like I'm in this limbo where nothing new is coming to replace the old that didn't serve me anymore. I'm very at peace when I'm connected with my higher self, but on the physical level, I feel like I'm lacking passion for anything or a dream to strive for. My only passion is clearing more layers of the sludge in my being, and I'm just wondering, is it even good to be this neutral? How do I activate a joyfulness at the human level again? Thank you so much for this question. It is a very valid question, and you're a very devoted being, and I know that you will, really go far with this consciousness. But here is the thing, when you notice the importance and significance of purity and this state of being, of neutrality, that, neutrality, that word doesn't do justice to the state of consciousness, but basically, when you can tap into this, I think that when people realize how crucial it is to activate that level, they become very afraid of anything less than that. And then they try to bypass it or suppress it. And I think that perhaps you've tuned into that level of neutrality, but then because you are so, how should I say this? You've just broken through to that level and it's like, you don't want to let go of it. So it's almost like you form an attachment to that. And then you try to bypass or not feel into any lesser beings, but the actual state of that consciousness is all inclusive of every experience. So it doesn't mean that the other emotions will go away, but it means that you get to experience everything with no attachment. So once you go deeper into this, which you already tap into it, but when you go deeper into the different nuances of that and see how it unfolds, what will happen is that you will meet back with everything that was there before. Everything that was there before, it didn't go away. It's still there. You're still there. All the individuality, it's still there. And that's how this world works with the Akashic records and the subconscious field and the conscious mind, this vital energy. You're still human. You're still there. You're still all there. Yes, you've learned how to tap into that level of consciousness, but now what's going to happen is you're going to start to integrate to every level. And what will happen is you will be triggered sometimes because you just want to go back into that state. You can, but it doesn't last forever. You kind of dip in and out. It's a cycle. You will dip in and out. And even if you have an unpleasant experience, you'll be able to go back there. Even if you have a very pleasant experience, you will go back there because at the end of the day, majority of that pleasure is not from a deep bliss level, but it's like even happiness or excitedness. People chase that, but eventually realize like, oh, there's a lot of sensation. Let me go back into this neutral state. But it doesn't come with any fear of like, will I lose all of this? No. What will happen is this will continue, but it will become more vivid. So your experiences, whereas before it was like muddy, muddled, a mess, junk of like a brown color that is mixed with all the different colors and it's almost like this gray sludge. But when you integrate neutrality, it's not that this disappears. It all of a sudden becomes crystal clear into all the different hues and colors you can possibly imagine, the clearest projection. So does neutrality take away from experiences? No, it actually enhances your experience. And you will see this through the integration process. But the key is you always know how to return. That's the key. You'll continue to have this experience and it will get more clear, more joyful. And once you drop away from the notions of how, I think your linear mind is trying to grasp that level. And then now it's creating these belief systems around it, how to experience things, and it's trying to neutralize the experience into something bland. But actually, the truth of that is not bland. It's just clear. And then with the clarity, you have this entire reality to experience without attachment. When you don't have the neutrality activated, you experience everything and then you're attached to everything. And then life becomes hell. But when you can experience it with neutrality, you have this higher dimension in which you are embracing the experience and you're not in the mud. Okay, last question is, I have gone through years of leaving abusive and exploitative situations behind over and over again. While these cycles always teach me the lessons I'm meant to learn, I'm also unknowingly impart new ways of living, working, and communicating to others during the process. How can I do this work, which I understand to be part of my purpose, without becoming a martyr, losing everything and starting over from scratch each time? Usually I have to make some hard decision to end the situation before anything improves. Okay, thank you so much for this question. Again, I'm very sorry for what you're going through, and I'm sending so much love and grace and ease in navigating through this situation, sending so much empowerment because you can go through it. I know how receptive you are to high frequencies, and so sorry about the situation, and thank you for opening up, and thank you for trusting me to answer this question. Okay, so this is going to be a process of identity work and frequency embodiment. So this is not about resolving like karma or patterns, but this is going to be entirely about crafting a new identity, a self-identity, and downloading that to your field and living from that space all the time. So what you are going through is an echo of the past, and it's very hard to detach from what is going on right now. But every time you can catch yourself telling yourself, narrating what is going on, it matters very little what has happened in the past and what is happening now, but it matters that you can direct the course of your future and that you can live that future right now. So it's not about what exactly is happening now, but you have to craft this identity blueprint that I would call. This identity blueprint that is not the type of person who experiences these types of tumultuousness, that things just happen gracefully for them. So right now you're identifying yourself as the person who you just get unlucky with situations. The universe doesn't really support you as much as it supports some other people. You just have this projection of yourself that these sorts of things happen to you. And the thing is, this is not about resolving any karmic timelines, or even when I said like there's a part of yourself that there's an aspect of yourself that is completely addicted to this cycle. You know, that's just the truth of the reality. So craft a version of yourself and connect with a version of yourself, the version of yourself that these kinds of patterns are not a part of their energetic field. And I don't know, maybe you need to break this down into multiple different facets of how this avatar or how this future version of yourself shows up and how reality operates for that person, which is you. So make all these, maybe get a journal and jot down all of the ways in which that person navigates through life, how they evolve, how the universe operates around them, what kind of relationships they have, all of these different things. And you need to entrain your mind that this is your current reality. So this is kind of really like an identity work, that it's not going to work by solving one thing or the other, or one pattern or the other. The real root solution is that your self-perception is like projecting a version of yourself in which these are the things that happens to that person. This person has to go through destructive cycles. Things just don't work out for this person, yourself. So craft the version of yourself that is so lucky, that is so supported, that have really good relationship, that, that has it really easy for them. Imagine if you can just believe that things just happen easy for you. Like, you have it so good. There's some people like that. Really, find examples of those people and download their codes. Like, people are permission slips. So the next time you find someone out there in the social examples that it just seems like everything just works out for them, that they're just like born with a golden spoon, that things just, why are they so lucky? Download their codes into your field and imagine what it would be like to have that kind of energetic structure and live from that space. And hopefully it'll do wonders for you. Okay. Thank you everyone for the submissions. I hope this has been helpful. It's been a blast for me. I love tuning into these and getting these frequencies. So thank you again. Leave your questions in this Patreon video. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it's not going to be on YouTube, but the Patreon video for next month. And I will get that to you next month. Sending lots of love. Bye.